Good evening, Bills and Bettys, Michaels and Marys, ladies and germs. Welcome to this, another exciting episode of the Primal Paper Comics Podcast. The Primal Paper Comics Podcast is, of course, brought to you by Primal Paper Comics. Visit our website today at www.primalpapercomics.com. And now, without further ado, your host, the Real Manos!
Hello, friends, Romans, and countrymen. This is the Real Manos.
Otherwise, gotta be Romans.
Because I'm Italian, and it's a thing.
You're Italian?
Yeah.
Cristelli's Italian?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like fake Italian?
No, it's real Italian.
It's not like what is that? Mama Luigi's. She's not really Italian.
I don't. Yeah, we don't.
Do you have any paperwork?
Oh, at the house. Do you want to stop and me go get it?
I mean, you don't look Italian. Actually, now that I look at you, you could be in the mob.
Yeah, I could.
That's incredibly racist, isn't it?
Well, I can smash your kneecaps. That would prove it to you, I think.
Oh, how was your week, man?
It was okay. Little stressful at my day job. I had a cold. Lindsay had a cold. We all had a cold. The big highlight was I got to finish, creatively, I got to finish Red Knight 9, which is the end of the story arc I'm working on right now.
And this is the three-parter that was originally a two-parter, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Focusing on the union of superheroes.
Yes, and how their relationship is going to be with Red Knight. Because, yeah, they've been kind of like in the shadows, in the corners of the book so far, but they haven't really met Red Knight. And this storyline is pretty much going to establish their relationship with him and how they view him, how he views them, outside of his fandom of them. So we're going to see what occurs once the hijinks begin. And I also started writing a couple other things too, non-Primal Paper Comics related, but I have another comic script not Red Knight related that I'm going to do through Primal Paper Comics. Not really ready to talk too much about it. I just want to finish the script. But it's about a courtesan. So I can't wait to get that finished, actually. And that's been kind of my week. How about you? How have you been?
Yeah, can't complain.
I'm sure you could.
I got issue 7 of the Ends to the printer. About 2/3 done with issue 8. I'm finishing up formatting the trade paperback for the first 3 issues.
That's good. You're ahead of me.
And just kind of coming up with what my sales strategy is going to be for that and all that stuff. Not that we really want to talk about sales strategies because those are so fascinating to our listenership.
We could do a PowerPoint presentation, actually, if you want.
I saw Superman last week.
Did that come out?
It did.
Oh.
It did. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay. I'm sure we'll have some wacky discussions.
I saw your little podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Thing about Superman.
Oh, you mean all my 3 videos?
I know you've seen it.
Yeah.
You bastard.
You bastard.
I mean, I understand that you're pissed off at DC, but you don't need to be pissed off at Superman, too. I mean,
yeah, no. I like Superman.
Yeah. Oh, we talked about this last time about explicit, and I'm just going to say, because we actually got an explicit tag on iTunes.
Oh, yeah?
We just won't post this on the, I guess we just won't post this on the website. I mean, I don't even know if that matters so much, but we can talk a little bit further about that. But I just decided we should be able to cuss.
Okay.
So fuck it.
Okay, yeah.
Because you and I both use that language, and it just seems silly to pretend like we don't.
Yeah, we're adults.
We're not Stanley in the 70s. Neither one of us are going to be walking around with a cigar going, Excelsior! More likely we had a cigar and we're like, motherfucker!
Yeah. When I was doing comic news with Duke, I forgot what website we were posting it as an official podcast, and it was always explicit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Mainly because, I would randomly do abortion jokes.
Right.
No matter what.
Really?
Yeah.
You're horrible, man. Get out.
I'm trying to remember what. Actually, they wouldn't even really have too much to do with
I don't think we need to actually go that deeply into what the jokes were in this particular setting. So we were talking last week, or last month, I guess it was.
Yeah, last
we were doing
month.
This monthly. we talked about the beginnings of Primal Paper, and we kind of worked up to Red Knight, and we talked about how 41 became involved, and we got to the point where we were going to talk about how I got involved.
Yeah.
And we decided to go ahead and push that to a later episode, and this is that later episode.
What? Here we go.
It's true. So
this is part 2 of the secret history of Primal Paper Comics.
So you and I knew each other back in high school.
Yes.
And I think we kind of covered that. I can't remember. I'd have to actually go back and listen.
Yeah. Well, for the sake of argument, in case we didn't mention it in the last episode, or you just didn't hear that last episode, Jeff and I are quite old friends. We knew each other in high school. And oddly enough, to make things more complicated, not the same high school.
Right. Well, we met at some sort of summer theater program.
Yeah.
And around that time, I was involved in a role-playing game, pen and paper tabletop role-playing game that was called Champions. And I had a group of friends that I was playing with. And these guys have actually gone on to be listed as co-creators of my book, even though they don't really have any involvement with it today outside of, occasionally I'll have a conversation with them about it. And I'm good friends with all these guys still. We're all very close. And that would be the game master of that role-playing game was a guy named Matt Overstreet. And he was kind of the overall brain behind much of the story back then.
Yeah.
And then there was another guy, the creator of Kid Nighthawk, although back then he was called Nighthawk, but, I've had to change things, because of copyright and whatnot. Mike McGrail, and another gentleman named Barry Waldman, who was the creator of the, Accelerator. And, essentially this role-playing game went on into college, this would be about 1988, we were in high school. We graduated from high school. Matt and I actually went to college together in Ohio, a little college by the name of Otterbein University. We kept the game going there, and then for reasons that don't really bear discussing, I was no longer going to college. Matt still was, and the game kept going on there. So there were actually aspects of it that I wasn't actually involved with, and this rich 10-year period where this game was going on in different areas of the country with new players, and we would get back together and add new bits to it. And we always said, we should do a comic book on this. But we're all, terrible at executing, that kind of idea. Plus, you know how it was with Red Knight. I looked into it. I'm not an artist. I mean, I can draw to a degree.
Yeah.
But to draw enough, consistently enough, and fast enough to do a comic book is not something I can do. Didn't know any artists. Matt used to draw. I have a number of old pictures of characters that Matt drew. Matt had kind of a pseudo anime-ish kind of style.
Oh, really? I've never seen those.
Yeah, I'll have to dig them out. Let's see them sometime. Life moves on, and I had a kid. Matt's married now. We're all kind of scattered. Barry is living up in Northern Virginia. He's a lawyer. Matt's a software architect. I've got my day job where I do freelance work, freelance web work, and then comes along you again. And you and I had run into each other in different scenes over time. We talk to each other online from time to time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I see, oh, wow, Justin's doing Red Knight. I was like, wow, man, that's really awesome, because I know how he's wanted to do that forever, and it's like a dream of his, and he's chasing his dreams, and I was really impressed by that. And I think at some point I told you about that. I told you basically, hey man, good job.
Yeah.
And you were like, you want to do it.
Yeah, I was baiting you.
If you want to do it, it was not that hard. You could, I could hook you up with some artists or stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know, maybe.
I'm glad you got my subtle hints that I wanted you to take part.
So,
because I didn't want to like come out and go, hey, you should totally do it. It was like, I was like, hey, anytime, please, you're welcome to join.
I mean, the danger for me, one is it's this huge thing. It's this huge part of my life. This story is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
It is the basis for friendships that go back 25 years. I mean, my closest friends are from this silly little comic book game that grew into this incredibly convoluted, not altogether consistent story. Because at the time we weren't writing a book. None of us were writers at that point. We were just telling stories, and it didn't matter if there was a continuity, and it didn't matter if there was a theme, or the characters kind of became different things. And so I had kind of two things. I'm a grown up, just like you. I have grown up bills, and I can't. I have to be careful what I invest my money into. And I looked at it, and I felt like if I was going to do this, it's an epic story. I need 70 or so issues to lay it out. And if I start it, I have to finish it.
Yeah.
And so while this was all going on, I'm starting to look at, I'm a graphic designer, among other things, in my day job. And I started playing with Photoshop to see, well, what can I do with photo manipulation? Where's the technology at with that? And I actually started on I had a couple of false starts for some other projects. I started on like a little web comic called The Candidate, which was about, my ideal as far as what a candidate for president would be. And kind of messed around with that. It was kind of very Sin City-ish. I like working in black and white.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't, this is a strike against a lot of our books. A lot of people won't even look at the black and white book. Like, I see it's black and white, and I don't want to read that.
Yeah. Oh, they ask me, actually, a lot of the first questions I get is like, when is this going to be in color? It's like, well, as soon as
the pricing for color is just not.
Yeah. And I tell them, like, as soon as I have like $80,000 to make this book in color.
I mean, you could do it digitally. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it digitally, but the reality of digital comics is that nobody's buying them. Still. There's a lot of buzz about digital, and, Marvel's made some inroads, and DC says that they've made inroads, but they don't release sales figures. And every independent creator that I've talked to says, yeah, there's a lot of buzz about digital, but I don't have that many sales. And the reality in my sales, and really kind of all of ours, is that the digitals don't sell as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because we're indie creators and people need to come into direct contact with us in order to want to buy our books. I don't know what it is. And I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself.
Get back to.
But doing it in color was never really a thing for me. The end was always going to be a black and white book.
It's so suitable for black and white. I don't know.
Well, there's a moodiness that I can get to in black and white that I don't think color handles as well. And so I sat down, and I mean, the first thing I did is I basically took all of this source material, which is just a ton of source material, and I said, okay, what am I going to do with this? And I started. Now my background as a writer, I was a performance poet. Professionally for a number of years. I'm semi-retired from that now. But most of my background, my background comes from theater, which is what I went to college for. And then poetry. And then some prose, but primarily a poetry writer who then is transitioning into writing a comic book. And then taking all of the source material and starting to mess around with Photoshop and saying, okay, can I do this art? And my technique is, for the first 2 issues, I relied on on a program called Hero Machine, written by a wonderful man named Jeff Hebert, who was gracious enough to grant me permission to use the images that I created. Hero Machine is like a paper doll program. You have bits and pieces of people and costumes, and you can pick and choose, and you can create your character with it. And so some of the art most of the art in the first issue, and some of the art in the second issue, not anywhere near as much. It dropped off significantly after the first issue, was created using this program. And then I've cast people in the roles of the different characters, and I meet with them once every 2 or 3 months, and I get I bank up some photos, get them to pose, make expressions, and I build like a library of images that I can then select from. And sometimes if there's something specific that I need, I'll use like a stock image. I'll buy a stock image off of iStock and then alter it. Or, if there's monsters or things like that, I might use, I have a pretty extensive toy collection. I'll use action figures and, Photoshop. Once I get something into Photoshop, I can do whatever I want with it. And so I got the first issue together and I brought it to you. And I was like, well, I'm kind of thinking about doing this. Really kind of want to do it, but I don't know if it's any good. What do you think? And handed it to you. And you were properly supportive. And now I'm on issue 7.
There we go. And that's Primal Paper history, if you want to call it that. It's recent history, anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, I came in and I was like, okay, your website sucks. And you did the website.
I want to thank you. I mean, you've done an incredible job with the website. And I know that was probably just an easy job for you, considering what you've done in the past.
And I know that Primal Paper was kind of flagging a little bit at the time that I came in and Forrester came in. You were kind of taking things over from... Yeah. You were trying to figure out what the new direction of Primal Paper was going to be because... And Vince was maybe wavering a little bit as far as he wanted to keep going with Primal Paper or if he wanted to do his own thing.
Yeah, both Vince and I were kind of on the same wavelength, actually. We were both thinking that Primal Paper was looking like it was dissolving, and it was like, well, I guess we'll just kind of publish these books under our own banners. But I thought that would have been a crime because I really liked the goals of what we were talking about initially and when we first got together. And there's a great bit of talent in this area, and I can't see anything other than it being a great advantage to work together in this kind of like a partnership. And so when you started coming to me and going, I think I might be able to do this, and that was the same month actually that Forrester was coming to me, right. And it was like. I was literally on the fence about just like letting it go, and then when you guys were talking, I was like, you know what? No, we can really put together stuff. And I knew what you were going to be doing, and I knew what Forrester was going to be doing, and I thought if these 5 books, including myself, Vince, and Bob's books, I thought we had a really unique kind of brand, actually.
And that's the thing is that there is a power. To doing everything under a label like this, where it provides an overall narrative for the company. It firmly establishes our identity and makes us kind of a mini force to be reckoned with. And we're not Image.
No.
We're not even Boom.
Not even Malibu.
I would love to have Malibu sales figures. And that's the reality of independent comics. And I should talk about what the ends is because not a lot of you are reading it. If the sales figures are any, I do all right. I'm averaging, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 75 copies per issue sold.
Not bad.
Not great.
Yeah. It's not that much.
But I'm in my first year. I know your sales figures are significantly higher than mine. But you've been doing this for what?
We're doing it for 3 years. Yeah. This month is the 3rd year.
With like a weekly podcast where you plug the book and you build an audience, and I'm still, the tragedy of doing a book monthly starting out and not having like one issue to promote for 4 months is that my issues kind of fall quickly. Like I'm no longer really promoting issue 1. I'm trying to promote issue 7, and this is 7-8 months into it. But The Ends is it's a post-apocalyptic superhero epic. It's the end of the world, and there is like a supreme cosmic being who is supposed to stand against the forces of evil, and he has cultivated champions, the superheroes. But when the end of the world comes, the superheroes have all disappeared, and he has no forces to marshal against the coming evil. And so he is forced to pick less than desirable candidates. These handful of D-lister superheroes that nobody, that's in some cases nobody remembers or nobody wants to remember. We have, and so there are 4 main characters in the book, and now there's going to be there's a 5th. And the 4 characters kind of correlate with each of the guys that were playing this game. We each had our own character, so they get a co-creator. They get a character created by listing in the book. There is the Peregrine, whose name is Winston Taylor. He is a 1930s era vigilante who, when he started, was like a big deal superhero, and as the years went by, he became unacceptable because the methods for fighting crime in the 30s very much differ from what they are today. He's a lot bit obsessive about his work. Has no problem with killing people, has no problem with torturing people, just not a very nice man. There is a 3,000-year-old spirit of war, Chinese spirit of war, who is called the Master of the Blade, who was basically given this insane power level. He's kind of my Thor, in a way, in that he can teleport, and he's just got, he's somewhat telepathic. He's a master of martial arts beyond human ability. He can take out, whole battalions with just a sword. Not a very, and he's kind of obsolete because who fights with swords anymore? There is the more modern superhero, the Kid Nighthawk, who is a martial artist. Has some, maybe a little bit of enhanced speed, but not a particularly paranormal character. And his problem is he's more interested in, getting laid and drinking than, maybe, smoking a little bit of the, than he is in fighting crime or saving people. And then the only real hero of the bunch is a character named Accelerator. He's NASA's superhero. He's a power armor character who basically, he has like these nanites in his bloodstream, and they go out and gather material and build his suit around him. So he has like a molecular control of his suit, and he's a science hero basically, kind of in the same vein as Reed Richards or somebody like that.
I got a small question about him. Is he the last of NASA? Is NASA destroyed along with the world yet?
Nothing has really been revealed about that yet. They basically they go off into this outer space to fight this great evil, and in the first 3 issues, they basically go to stop the end of the world and they fail. Mm-hmm. By the end of issue 3, their benefactor is dead. The cosmic being has been murdered.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of standing around going, well, what do we do now? I guess we've lost. And then they go back to Earth and try to hold things together. So he doesn't know what has happened. And the communication, the Earth is just battered. There's this huge storm. There are earthquakes. This kind of world-ending storm. Lightning strikes. easily 3/4 of the planet's population is dead. They landed in Norfolk, Virginia, because that's where I wanted to tell the story, was here. Originally the story actually took place in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but because I live in Norfolk and I like Norfolk more than I like Virginia Beach, I moved it. And basically what the ongoing story is how these individuals that are very poorly suited for their task, who are just not very good at their jobs, are forced to try and hold things together as the surviving population begins to exhibit paranormal abilities. They're being infected by whatever it is that caused the end of the world, and they're just trying to shepherd what's left and try to rebuild. And that's the overall gist of the story, the elevator pitch, so to speak. I just finished. The first 3 issues are kind of an introductory story arc, and then the next issues 4, 5, and 6 are introducing these newer paranormals.
Yeah, that's the Fallout story.
The Fallout storyline. 7 is a standalone story that kind of wraps up to some degree what's going on.
That's the one that's about to come out, right?
Yeah, that's the one that's about to come out.
Okay.
And then I'm going to start another storyline that is specifically about the Peregrine. The Peregrine is about in his late 90s, and he has somehow artificially managed to keep himself from aging. Basically, and this is interesting to me because I didn't intend this to happen. I'm not a Christian, and I don't particularly hold to any sort of biblical views. Mm-hmm. But there's a very biblical arc, a very biblical theme to what's going on in many ways. Like the cosmic being kind of comes off as though he might be God. There's the conflict is between this lower dimension and a higher dimension, and the Earth was kind of created to be a buffer between the two. The Earth is basically the higher dimension's antibody or immune system, and anything that wants to get to that higher dimension has to go through us, and as long as we're here, it can't. And so the eradication of humanity is basically an invasion attempt from this lower dimension. Very little of this has been hinted at in the book. If you pay attention, you get a sense of this overall overarching storyline. And what's going to happen in issues 8 through I guess 11, or 8 through 10. 8 to 10. It's going to be 3 issues. Is that some of these higher dimensional beings notice that the caretaker of our universe has been murdered and come down to investigate it and find out what's going on, and they realize that these horrible things have happened, and that 3/4 of their antibody system has just been eradicated, and so they undertake steps to protect humanity, and not really in an optimal way. They basically see us as though we're cattle, or maybe cultures in a petri dish that you might use to create a vaccine or something like that. That's how they view people, and so that's going to be going on against the backdrop of as this lower dimension is infecting our universe, science is going to begin breaking down, and the science that the Peregrine used to keep from aging begins to fail, and so he very rapidly starts to become his actual age, and he's desperately trying to stop it against the backdrop of dealing with these higher dimension beings that are essentially corralling humanity to keep safe, so that their defense system is still in place. So there's going to be some interesting things to do there. And the interesting thing is that again, I had to kind of collate all of these. None of this was in the original. None of this is really in the original storyline that we created in this game. Matt Overstreet and I have talked quite a bit about it. And I'll be like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. He's like, oh, well, that's really different from what I was doing. So I give Matt a story credit because he helped create the world, and he was the primary architect of the world, but the world has become very different from what he originally envisioned. As I'm taking it into, I'm basically taking all of these pieces and going, okay, what's the story I want to tell here? And that's where it's at. The book's available digitally at primalpapercomics.com. They're 99 cents a piece. If you haven't read it yet and you like The Red Knight or you like The Legend of Willpower, I'm building readership at this point. The digital issues are $1 a piece. It's very cheap to get into the book. I encourage you to read the first 3 issues, and I may actually go ahead and just package the first 3 issues digitally so that you can't actually buy them separately and do some sort of discounted price on that, because I really do feel like if you only read the first issue, you're not gonna get into the book. And that's maybe a failure on my part as a creator. With the first issue, I was kind of learning the ropes as far as how I was going to tell the story. With the story arc in mind, and maybe I didn't give enough of it in that first issue. The first 3 issues are going to be collected in a very cheap trade paperback, so if you want that in print, that's going to be, I'm aiming to keep the price of the trade paperback to under $5 for 3 issues. That's stupid cheap. So hey, check the book out, and as always, we love all of our listeners who actually support Primal Paper Comics by buying our books and not just listening to the podcast.
Yeah. That's true, Jeff. I mean, we do this because we love it, and basically we kind of live and die by sales. So I mean, we definitely. I am so happy that people are out there who actually do take a chance. Because that's the thing. I mean, it takes a lot to take a chance on what is pretty much an unknown property.
I suppose. I
know. I mean, because as a fan, sometimes I feel that way. So
I
anybody who does,
I have a different approach to it because I buy stuff that I've never heard of all the time just to be exposed to something that's new. But I do get that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
It does get a little. Sometimes the level of work that you have to do to sell a book that's $3.
Yeah. I mean, it's different. Like maybe it was a little bit easier when books were $2 or $1. It would be easier to experiment. But now it's $3 a pop or $4 a pop. Actually, I'm really happy that all the Primal Paper books are $3.
Well, we try to keep them.
A lot of indie books, go higher.
They aren't now, actually. I think Willpower's $3.99 now.
$3.99. Well, yeah. He's packing a lot of stuff in that book, though.
Yeah. He's also hiring a lot of different artists, and he's got a lot more expenses.
Yeah. You're getting your money's worth for that extra.
His art's phenomenal.
50 cents. But
and the artists that he's brought in are phenomenal.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to thank anybody who's taking a chance for our books, and you keep buying them, we'll keep making them, and we'll do our best to make them the best books we can, and no bullshit really in our books. We're not going to be killing anybody off just for.
Yeah, I actually had a one of the vendors, one of the comic book stores that, and I love the comic book stores. And down the line, I'd like to actually maybe get some of those guys in for an interview or something like that.
That'd be cool.
The owners, get them to talk about their stores. But one of them was like, so this is the first issue, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, any variant covers? And I'm like, no, I hate variant covers. Although, I love making covers, and I started thinking about, well, it would be kind of cool to commission like Neil Adams or somebody like that to do a cover.
That would be. That would be amazing.
Look, Muppet, the cat is coming to join our podcast. He's climbing up the chair towards the mic as we speak. Hello, Muppet. Can you say meow? Hello, Muppet. Meow. No, he's not talking to me.
No.
He's just looking around. He's like, give me a lap. That's so funny. Now he's like freaked out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to look at you.
I know that our listeners are enthralled with the tale of Muppet the cat.
Yeah, the cat we can't see.
He's very cute, though. If you could see him, you'd be like, oh.
Just imagine any cat. That's cute, and that's pretty much what we got going on.
I mean,
But
I can see the attraction of a variant cover as a creator because you get to see different.
looks. Yeah, that's something I'm kind of been doing with Red Knight, where I've kind of like had some other artists do covers. I have Shiloh Penfield doing the cover for 7.
Yeah.
And I asked Vince White of Willpower. He's done an amazing cover for 8.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and I haven't decided. I did. I'm gonna have JC do the cover for 9.
Yeah, and I just had a big thing with my covers because I was doing the covers using this Hero Machine software.
Yeah.
And some of the response was some people felt like it was kind of cheating. I don't. I kind of come from a kitchen sink matchup kind of background, and I feel like whatever works, whatever it takes to engender the final reaction that a piece of art creates in a person. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how I got there. It doesn't matter if I took something from this program that maybe I didn't draw it, but I got permission from the guy. But some people I guess felt like because anybody could theoretically do that. Although quite frankly, the compositional tools that I bring to the table are not something that everybody has. But I felt like it wasn't like the interior art, and it wasn't maybe representing the book. So with issue
5,
I completely changed the style of the covers to basically be like a color version of what's actually inside the pages.
Yeah, which I'm actually glad you did. I mean, I remember being blown away by the first time I saw cover 5. And thinking that's actually one of the better covers I've seen with a Primal paper stamp on it, really.
Oh, thank you.
And then the cover since then. Ironically enough, the Hero Machine cover you had set up for issue 5, I thought was probably your best Hero Machine cover, actually.
Yeah, I never got to use it. And that's what I was saying, you kind of look at that and go, well, maybe I could do variant covers. But, I mean, I'm not selling enough books to do variant covers.
Well, here's the thing. When you do the trade, maybe you can maybe put that, in the background, maybe in the back of the trade.
Yeah, I'm working on some, like, goodies, some kind of extras. Like, I'll probably put the original covers in. I actually redid the covers for 1 through 3 to be more like the covers that I'm doing now. And those are the covers that are presented in the book. But I think in the back, maybe doing like a cover gallery.
I think you should.
And I'm kind of wanting to do like a who's who kind of page for each of the characters, kind of giving some tidbits about them. Give something to the people that buy the trade paperback. That's a little extra about the world.
I think that's a good idea. I'm currently working on the trade for the first 3
I
issues.
know, and it's going to be colored.
I know.
Colored by our very own Forrester, the creator
right.
of Dogs and Sailors.
And it's going to be looking good, too. I also am going to be doing some extra features on it. I am going to... I just asked... I just mentioned this to James Harmon. I'm going to put the 6-page short story, The Struggle, that was in the free comic book day special. I'm going to put it in the trade.
Oh, very cool.
And I think it fits really well with the first 3 issues. And I'm going to be doing some like backup pinups. I've already asked Shiloh Penfield to do one. I've asked James to do one. I have 2 stored up from JC. I may ask him to do another one for the back. And I'm also going to be doing I've asked somebody to do a introduction, although I haven't told him like publicly. Like we haven't talked about like agreeing when we're going to mention publicly. So I'll mention who's doing the intro later. But I'm pretty excited. I think I'm toying around with maybe doing some early sketch work, like a sketchbook of what was.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I lost a lot of the. We used to do like little sketches and stuff.
Me too.
With the characters that became the ends, and a lot of that stuff got lost.
I had this for the longest time. The one you drew of the character back in like 1990 and shit like that. That was my vision of the character for the longest time, and I can't seem to find it lately. If I can dig it up, I'll definitely.
It'd be cool to see it. I haven't seen it in 20 years. So
yeah, that'd be. I'll have to see if I can find it. I can't imagine I threw it away. If I did, it had to have been an accident. With some other papers that I just didn't notice. But
well, I lost almost everything I owned at one point. So I lost a lot of that stuff. I have a couple of boxes that I'm still kind of looking through to see if there's anything from that.
I may still have I may also still have an armored Peregrine.
Yeah, that'd be funny because that's actually gonna.
Because he was more of an Iron Man kind of guy.
Well, yeah.
But at one point,
and there's going to be kind of there was a point where he was, and all of that will be revealed in good time.
Oh, good.
I think that's enough as far as inside Primal Paper Comics for this episode. I think next month maybe we'll get Bob Franz on the line, get him to talk about 41. Mm-hmm. The big news being is that Bob Franz is another Primal Paper creator. He is the creator and writer on the book titled 41, which is another end of the world, amusingly enough, story.
We're the most cheerful company ever.
We are.
Actually,
we kind of are. I mean, most of our books are kind of, well, I mean, Forrester's is a little bit gritty.
I think Forrester's is kind of in between, actually.
Mine's pretty depressing. I mean, mine is a borderline horror story.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess Vince's book, Willpower, and my book, Red Knight, are kind of...
Much more optimistic.
Much more optimistic than 41 in the Ends. I mean, your book is called The Ends.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, we'll get Bob on, and he can tell his tale of woe as related to Primal Paper Comics. Let's get into some news.
Okay.
So. Good evening. So Superman, Man of Steel came out.
Yeah. Hey, did you see it?
I did. I saw it twice. I actually went back. I saw it when it came out, and then I went back a couple of days ago because I knew we were going to be talking about it.
That's true.
And after watching your little love fest on Geekvolution with it, where nobody disliked the movie, I was like, maybe they should have gotten somebody who disliked the movie on there.
Well, yeah. Just the group we got, we just all liked it.
And realistically, you really don't have to throw a rock very far to hit somebody who didn't like it.
It's been very polarizing. We understood that when we did it, actually.
I was just like, they should have called me.
But yeah, the guys, Logan, got together with the panel. We all kind of liked it. If you watch any of my videos with the Real Manos, I've done 3 videos. I've done non-spoiler, a spoiler, and then I did the spoiler panel, not on my channel, but over on Geekvolution. Which is a nice 2-hour conversation. It's about around the same same length of the movie, actually. So I basically like the film. Jeff, however,
no, I didn't. That's not fair. There are many things about it that I liked. Mm-hmm. And let's start off with, this is going to be spoiler filled. So if you haven't seen, for some reason you haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah, I mean, what's your hold up?
You should probably stop listening, because we don't care that you haven't seen it yet, because we're mean. No, but at this point we should be able to talk about the movie and not have to worry about spoilers. So spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Turn it off if you haven't seen it yet, or don't bother going to go see it because it's not very. No. I mean, I like the performance of Henry Cavill. I like him as Superman.
Yeah.
I liked Jor-El's performance. What's his name?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe as Jor-El. I enjoyed. I liked Perry White. I liked
Amy Adams. Did you like Amy Adams?
I adore Amy Adams. I actually have a huge crush on Amy Adams, so I probably would have liked her even if she wasn't good. But she was good.
Yeah.
All right, let's just do this.
Okay.
What did you like about? Why did you like it?
All right. I like the film because, well, first, it does seem to capture a lot of the Superman story from the first 2 Donner films. His basic origin. He comes to Earth, and he unfortunately has the ghosts literally from his past come and haunt him and Earth just as he's learning who he is. I like the fact that he is learning how to be Superman even before he encounters the Kryptonian technology. That is basically the last step in his learning process of becoming who he is. He has been, out there trying to solve problems being kind of Superman without the costume and name, actually. Uh, I think also it just I, I really like the fact that he is he strikes me as a good, decent person who's trying to do the right thing as much as he can. And also, I love the relationship between him and Lois. I think it works before it really does get too romantic, which I assume if they do future installments, then we'll see that come together more. But I like the fact that she knows who he is right off the bat, actually. And of course, I do like the fast-paced action. I think it was extraordinarily well done. I thought the whole Kryptonian stuff was fascinating.
I like the Kryptonian stuff.
I thought that...
I think they could do a whole movie just on Krypton.
Actually, I think there is...
And there's talk of it now, actually.
There was, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't read the book, The Last Days of Krypton, I think it's called.
I'm not familiar with it.
All right, but there's a book, Captain Logan's read it and really loves it. He seemed to feel like there was a little bit lifted from that. This was doing kind of what Nolan did and Goyer did with the Batman series of films, where they cherry-picked some really good, solid story arcs from Batman's history and popular and really decisive stories, and kind of put them together, as a whole in the the films that they did, and I definitely see them doing that with. There's shades of Birthright and John Byrne's Man of Steel and I think it's The Last Days of Krypton. I wish I'd read that book, actually. I've actually been thinking about picking it up since watching this film. Oh, and yeah, I mentioned I like the performances a lot. I think everyone's really good. Like Michael Shannon's excellent.
The performances were excellent. The acting was excellent in the movie.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm losing my voice.
That's okay. So, yeah, with that all said, I more or less like the film. I did have some pacing issues here and there with some of the stories.
There are points in watching the destruction of Metropolis by Zod, who I liked quite a bit. I enjoyed Michael
Shannon.
Michael Shannon. I don't really know his work from anything else.
I know he's in the Prohibition show on HBO.
See, I barely watch TV.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah, with that said, I've said a lot of nice things about it. You have a lot of not nice things.
There
about it,
are
so take the stage.
Incredible liberties taken with the narrative of the character that change the character's core. Clark Kent is completely missing from this film. He does not exist. It's just Superman. He's never Clark. Lois knowing who he is from the get-go erases Clark Kent. Clark Kent doesn't exist. He's just Superman. And that's a problem I have, because Clark, the pretense that Superman makes that he's just an ordinary guy is a central tenet of the character that is completely missing from the film. And that's a problem that I have with it. And you and I talked about the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Jonathan Kent's, Superman's dad.
Yeah.
His Earth dad. Jonathan Kent's perspective on what he teaches Clark about the world is very subtly different, but that subtle difference, these subtle differences veer off into major discrepancies from how the character has been traditionally played. Don't show people what you can do. Keep it a secret. If you have to, let people die. Jonathan Kent told his son to let people die. Maybe he should let people die rather than let them know what he can do. And that is a huge difference in the character of Pa Kent. And then for Clark to sit there and watch his father die when he could have stopped it, when he could have saved his life because his father didn't want him to reveal what he could do to the people around him, that is like a knife in the character's back to me. Superman does not sit. You know, he kills General Zod at the end. He snapped his neck because General Zod was going to kill half. You know, well, really, I mean, I don't understand how there's anybody left living in Metropolis right now after the destruction, after the orgy of destruction porn that Zack Snyder exposed us to in that movie. To where you actually get bored watching buildings get destroyed.
Actually, even before the fight, really, I mean, that world engine is so devastating.
Sure.
I mean, even before the fight starts.
You know, I had a problem with Superman killing General Zod at the end of the movie.
But do you think? Let me ask you a thing. Let me ask you something.
But that doesn't bother me anywhere near as much. And let me get this out. And then
Okay, actually, no. I think
that doesn't bother me anywhere near as much as him watching his father die.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. That was actually what I was about to ask you. Because I think that was the initial gut reaction a lot of fans had was the Zod killing. But you think this is actually more important?
Yes, he let somebody die. Superman doesn't let people die. I don't know about Superman doesn't kill, because apparently the character has killed before, and I don't know, it just didn't stick in my mind when I was watching this, but when I went back, yes, Superman's killed before. He kills, in one of Byrne's stories, he kills an alternate universe Zod and his compatriots. You know, but...
And he killed Zod in Superman too.
I don't even necessarily... He sort of let him die. He didn't really kill him.
He killed him. He took his powers away till he was human, then he killed the hell out of him.
He didn't really kill him. He let him fall off a cliff or something.
Okay, that's so different.
I mean, he didn't save him.
He broke his hand and threw him.
I mean...
That's not exactly the nicest thing.
You know, honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on the end, because it was... I saw it in the theater. I'd have to go back and watch it again.
He tricked them into stealing their own powers.
Fine. Superman kills.
He killed...
I have a problem with... I do have a problem with having Superman kill in his first major outing in however many years it's been, in something that's supposed to reestablish the franchise. I find it interesting that they chose to reestablish the franchise in such a way that he is a killer. Never mind the fact that he didn't really seem concerned with the rest of Metropolis during the whole time that they were having the orgy of destruction. You know, suddenly he cares about the people because they're right in front of him or something, or he couldn't see that they were in the building, although Superman has X-ray vision, so I don't know how he didn't see all those people in those buildings getting killed.
Well, I mean, did we see people in the buildings?
Or where were they?
Or we just simply assuming,
where would they have been?
Well, they would be evacuating because, like, the world's worst disaster is going on. I think it would be logical to get the fuck out of the building.
I have some land to sell you, sir. I have some very, very desirable beachfront property in Florida that I think you should take a look at.
You don't think people would evacuate the city when that world engine started?
Just a moment. Let me go get my brochure.
I mean, that thing was worse than...
No, I don't think they had time to evacuate the city. I think if you think that the level of destruction that happened in that city, where would they have gone? You can't evacuate a city of that size in the amount of time that they had. Period. End of story. Done. Never mind. I mean, and the RS, it's coming across the bit where they're broadcasting Zod's
you mentioned this
message,
to me, yeah.
And they're like, it's coming across the RSS feed. The technical advisor for the movie should be dragged out into the street and beaten with sticks. So let that go. An RSS feed doesn't transmit video, you dumb fucks. But for him to have watched Pa Kent die, one, it introduces an element of tragedy into the character where none existed before. But the tragedy of the character originally was that he was alone. And to these guys, that's a little too subtle of a tragedy. We need to actually make him responsible for his father's death. I found that cynical, disgusting. They lost me the second I watched that happen. I was just like, actually, and honestly, they broke the ice with the earlier scene where he gets abused by some trucker while he's pretending to be a normal person, like busting tables in this bar.
Yeah.
and this Superman, Clark Kent, this paragon of Midwestern virtues, of turn the other cheek, of we don't, we control our strength. Throws a little temper tantrum and trashes the guy's truck. That was just, it was funny, ha ha ha. Mm-hmm. But it was not true to the character.
There was,
and I've had this problem with Snyder before.
Yeah, there was a scene in also Superman 2 where there's oddly enough, a bully in a bar scene.
And he goes back after he has his powers.
And beats him up. Actually.
Yeah,
I mean, he physically puts his hands on him and beats him up.
Sort of not really. He flicks him.
Flicks him? I mean, that's a Superman is beating.
I mean, yeah, and
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't totally disagree with you about that scene. I thought that scene was oddly written because not just the fact that he just had petty, childish revenge on this trucker guy. I actually had trouble understanding that moment in the scene where he pours the beer on him, and everybody looks at Clark like, oh, it's his fault or something. I don't know. The whole thing tends to shift where, he should have just thrown him out. And I don't think the bartender, the owner of the bar, would have minded at all. And he could have done that in a not super godlike way. He's Superman. He could just hold him and just hold him firmly and he's a drunk. I think he could have handled that just a little more smoothly. But so he leaves, and so did the drunk bully guy continue to harass the waitress? That's something I was thinking about.
Well, she said it's not worth it, sweetie, and he just quits or walks out or whatnot.
It's like, well, I don't know. Just the way that scene was written, I thought was really off. Not to the point where I was like, oh, this is the worst film ever. But
started to be very nervous about the film when I saw that.
Okay.
Broke it for me when he let his father die.
Mm-hmm.
Bothered me that the destruction of Metropolis just bothered me because it just seemed so excessive. It was just a CGI fest, and and honestly, I was just like, I was bored. I was like, how much longer are they going to show pictures of I just don't care. And I don't know if that's just living in the age of CGI where it's not real, and so it just doesn't have an effect on you or something. I don't know. But by the end of the film, and this. Not as much as the huge alterations that they made in the character, where they felt that people won't care about Superman unless he has a tragic background, unless he has a dark, flawed, where he watched his father die and he's responsible for that, and he's got to live with that guilt. And Superman is not about living with guilt. Superman's about doing it right the first damn time. Because he's goddamn Superman. He is the paragon. People are like, well, the Avengers let New York get destroyed in that movie. And I'm like, the Avengers are not Superman. Thor is a fucking berserker god who revels in destruction. Mm-hmm. Superman saves people. Superman keeps the city from getting destroyed. Superman moves the fight. Superman gets it right the first damn time. He is the ideal to which all other heroes strive in the DC universe. And all of that was ignored. And last, my final critique of the film is that so much of it was about the supporting characters. Mm-hmm. The guy that played Dr. Miozola, Richard Schiff. Yeah. I'm a huge Richard Schiff fan from The West Wing. Yeah. He played Toby Ziegler in The West Wing. I'm happy to see him in anything. I felt like he was kind of wasted in this, but the movie, because they cast these heavy actors. They got Russell Crowe to be Jor-El. They got fucking Field of Dreams.
Kevin
Costner to be Pa Kent.
Yeah, they had Diane Lane. Diane Lane is his mom.
Yeah, who I didn't really feel all that nurturing to me. She was just kind of the null force for me in the film. You got freaking Perry White, played by
Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne. You got all these big actors, these big, important, really good actors, and to get them into the movie and to keep them there, they got to give them some meat, right? They got to give them, I'm a big important actor, and
Yeah.
I should have a scene where I do something cool. And it just breaks the narrative because you have all of a sudden it becomes the story of Perry White saving Jenny Lane or whatever the hell her goddamn name is. And I'm just like, why are we watching this? What's going on with Superman? It's the Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no Clark Kent in the movie. Fine, whatever. I guess. I mean, I like Clark Kent. I miss him.
Well, we'll see him in the next movie.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
No, you don't see him in the next movie because
you have to
because
see him in
Lois
the next
knows who he is.
That doesn't matter. The world doesn't know who he is.
How does it not know who he is?
I don't know. People are stupid. You put clothes on a guy and glasses.
Sure. Well, I mean, but that's not,
No, I mean,
but that's been handled because Clark changes his posture.
Yeah. Well, that's what he'll be doing.
Maybe he will, and maybe he
I
won't.
hope so.
But Lois knows who he is.
Well, there's no possible way she could not know who he is.
Well, the way they wrote it, yes.
That would be.
But that is a no argument to me because to say, well, there's no way you could write it in a way that she doesn't know who he is. They did.
How?
The Richard Donner films did it.
Oh well.
What, the 70s were a simpler time? What?
Well, no, because the approach is different because he's already Superman when she meets him. This is him. She meets him while he's becoming Superman.
I think people were just so starved for a semi-decent Superman film because the last one wasn't very good that they're just willing to overlook these major flaws in the movie because they were happy that the movie didn't suck. They were happy that there was no bad acting in it. I enjoyed a lot of the characters. I didn't know why I was being presented with so much of their stories because the movie wasn't about them. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I had to know about the Major and his, or whatever he was, captain or whatever he was, and his problem with one of Zod's lieutenants. Everybody had to have a little bit. And all these little bits distracted from the main narrative, which is illustrative, in my view, of Zack Snyder's deficiency as a director. His complete lack of discipline in constructing a narrative and sticking to it.
Let me ask you something. I was just thinking about this as you were talking about his relationship with his parents. This, of course, is written by Goyer and Nolan. And watching this film and watching the previous Batman trilogy, do you think... I don't know if it's because they write these together. I can't really pinpoint which one. But do you think there is some sort of distance in the way these two writers, these two filmmakers, go about relationships with parents? Because I was thinking about the relationship Bruce has with his parents, specifically with Bruce's mother, who was basically a non-character, and the weird, I don't know. There was an intense relationship.
Nolan doesn't write women very well.
What's that?
Nolan doesn't write women very well.
Oh no, he doesn't. He's actually kind of bad.
Catwoman aside, who I thought was pretty well written.
Although she has really nothing to do with the plot.
Sure.
So I mean, it's a trade-off on that.
Very flawed movie.
And now this one, I think I think what you're getting at is there is not that same connection, even though I think the movie does try harder.
I mean, the whole thing about Superman and the difference, and let's talk about the difference between Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
The difference being is that Superman, even though he lost his parents, that he never really knew, Superman's not Kryptonian.
He doesn't consider himself Kryptonian.
He's Kansas.
Yeah.
He was raised by Kansas, and his family is with him, and he's not responsible for any dark, tragic things in his life. Superman was raised well and lucky and had a good life. If you go back to The Dark Knight Returns, and you look at Frank Miller's deconstruction, and Lord knows that Frank Miller is responsible for a lot of crap, especially recently. Yeah. And I know that there's a little bit of a revisionism going on where people are looking at it and going, well, maybe The Dark Knight wasn't that good. Fuck you. The Dark Knight kicked ass. It was an amazing book. It redefined the landscape of comics. It's not Frank Miller's fault that 100,000 imitators came and tried to do what he did and sucked at it. Mm-hmm. Dark Knight Returns is a seminal book. It's important work. And how it deals with the characters matters today. the deconstruction of Superman there, where Batman looks at him and he's like, you had a goddamn silver spoon in your mouth this entire time because you had good parents. You had people that taught you to do things and taught you to do good, and the rest of us had to freaking learn on our own. Mm-hmm. The resentment between Bats and Superman isn't a difference of opinion on how crime should be fought. Batman resents Superman because Superman has his parents. Superman didn't experience any loss. That's not what the character's about. Batman is about loss. Mm-hmm. Batman is about overcoming loss. Superman, and I get this concept that, Superman's perfect and nobody cares about him because he's perfect. No, nobody cares about him because you get shitty-ass writers who can't tell a decent story. If you can't tell an interesting story with Superman as the main character, then fuck you, because you suck as a writer.
Do you mind if I explain my thoughts on the whole Jonathan Kent death?
Sure.
Because I haven't really...
Yes, I mind. Screw you, Justin.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's only my show.
Get out of my house. You Superman hater. That's not even like I'm like a huge fucking Superman fan.
Yeah. The first time I ever saw you speak about comics, you were dissing Superman. Believe it or not.
I might have been. It's easy to make fun of him.
Yeah.
He's never lost a goddamn thing.
That's right.
He doesn't know what it's like for us real people. Fuck Superman. But if you're going to have Superman, and he's going to represent something, then he needs to represent this thing.
Well, here's the thing. Here's kind of my take on that. From what I gathered from watching the film, Jonathan Kent, he was consumed with protecting Clark, like his entire life. He was worried for him, despite the fact that he's so powerful and can do all this. He was still always worried he would be either taken away or
by who?
I don't know.
Why did this Jonathan Kent think that anybody could do anything to the Superman? He's freaking Superman.
Yeah. Well, he's still afraid of the consequences. But anyway, he was always.
Jonathan Kent is afraid.
He was afraid of him, and what the world would do to him, or even like
this. Jonathan Kent is afraid of the world.
He was afraid of
not just as a result of. He has a very, and I understand this is a Midwestern point of view that is valid. And
this was the way I took his death scene, was that he was so afraid of him showing his powers to the world that he was willing to risk
willing to die.
And
he knew he was going to die.
And if you noticed, he told him to stay back.
Yes,
he was going to go grab him, but he told him stay there.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and there is a possibility that Tornado could have missed him, but I know. But they both saw it coming. But that was the example he took, that he was willing to die to save what he cared for, what he loved. And yeah, he regrets it. And I know he did feel guilt over not saving him, but he did also at the same time understand sacrifice for what you care about.
What did he sacrifice?
What
was he going to sacrifice? What was he sacrificing if he saved his father?
No. Jonathan Kent sacrificed.
I understand it, yes. And I understand he respects his father's sacrifice.
Yeah.
My father believed that if the world found out about me, the people would fear me.
And I don't know if they really knew how truly powerful he was at that point.
That's fine.
It wasn't until...
I think they kind of did, because he's already exhibited his powers at this point.
Yeah, but he wasn't even flying yet.
No, but he was basically invulnerable, and they knew that.
Yeah, but,
and they knew he was super strong.
Yeah, but, how super strong?
I will concede your point. I will take everything back that I said bad about this movie, if you can do the following thing.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Please illustrate to me a major storyline in the history of the character where Superman gave in to fear. It wasn't like an alternate universe thing.
Well, that's not fair. Just about everything at DC is alternate universe now.
The character's not about giving in to fear.
I know.
And he gave in to fear there. He accepted his father's fear instead of overcoming it. He failed. Superman failed. And Superman doesn't fail.
I don't know. I always took it as him
And what's wrong?
I always took it as him respecting his wishes.
What's wrong?
Which, I mean, granted, is a stupid move, but
Well, he's a teenager, so what teenager respects their parents' wishes anyway?
yeah, I know.
What is wrong in this day and age? And this is the statement that Zack Snyder seems to be making, that Nolan and Goyer seem to be making. And I've liked some of Goyer's work, and I liked some of the Batman movies and bits and pieces of them. But what is wrong? It seems like they're saying that in this day and age, you cannot present a character who is an ideal to the American movie-going public and expect them to go see it and enjoy it. That you cannot. That you have to give him. You have to give him some sort of tragic flaw. You have to make him. You have to. He has to be. He has to fail. He has to fail before he can succeed. That you can't present something that is the paragon of virtue to the American people and expect them to buy it. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the cynicism. And I know it's odd to hear me make this argument because I know that I'm considered to be cynical and I'm a little bit acerbic and et cetera, but this is the paragon of super heroism. And they can't present that. They didn't know how to do it. They failed before they even started because they didn't understand the character. And I had the same problem with Snyder during, I'm not going to go off on a huge tangent about Watchmen. I had the same problem.
We only have 2 hours.
How somebody could actually get the visuals of the story right, but not understand the characters at all. Snyder is a failure as a director. I'm done with Snyder. He had an interesting movie with 300, and maybe Miller's cynicism plays to Snyder's strengths. But no, he's not a good director. He's great with visuals. He shouldn't be let anywhere near handling a plot. Like somebody should hold his hand. And I'm a little disappointed in Nolan. I'm a fan of Nolan. But and then from what I understand, Goyer and Snyder actually argued for a lot of this, and maybe overcame Nolan's better instincts. Is what I choose to believe on this. And we could argue, go see the movie, figure it out for yourself if you haven't seen it. Although if you haven't seen it, you really shouldn't be hearing me tell you that you should go see it because I told you not to listen if you hadn't seen it. That's your own damn fault if we ruined the movie for you. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, besides, I mean, how could they not have heard any of the details at this point?
I don't know. There's people that still don't know that Snape killed Dumbledore.
What?
Someone somewhere went, "You bastard!" All right. What else do we? Neil Gaiman's Sandman cover came out. Let's talk about Sandman.
Great.
Neil Gaiman, author of the celebrated, lauded, nearly mythic in status comic book series that ran for, I don't know,
70-some issues.
Yeah,
right around 73 or 74.
Yeah, won a whole ton of awards. Basically, got people to look at comics in a way that they'd never, because it wasn't about superheroes. It was about an incarnation of an aspect of humanity. Neil Gaiman is making his return to comics with a story that details what happened before Sandman. So very different from how DC handled before Watchmen, where they completely ignored the wishes of the creator and basically rapes his characters.
That would have been interesting if they had tried that with this. Like,
I mean, Alan Moore has kind of. I adore Alan Moore, but he has somewhat sullied his legacy with his oddness.
Yeah, you mean the fact that he's a wizard? I don't know what you're talking about.
He's a warlock. Get it right.
I apologize to all the warlocks out there.
That said, a lot of people are sick of Alan Moore. I'm not one of them. As far as I'm concerned, when you write the things when you have written the things that Alan Moore has written, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to put on a pointy hat and say you're a goddamn wizard, and actually, when you actually listen to what he's talking about, you can it actually makes a little bit of sense what he's saying. He's just going about it in kind of an odd way because he's Alan Moore. He doesn't fucking care what you think. But Neil Gaiman is much more beloved.
Well, that's because he's not.
He's much nicer.
He's really nice. He's like the nicest
very
guy
unassuming.
ever.
He's not very egotistical.
He's not insane.
I don't think Alan Moore is insane.
Well, I mean, he's kind of insane.
You know what? We will have a whole thing where we talk about Alan Moore in another episode.
And when I say insane, I don't mean that in any kind of vicious
He's going to
way.
come to your house and like cut your throat.
Yeah. Oh, that's totally not insane.
Once he gets done with the list of people that bought before watching.
See, I'll be out there proving I'm not insane by cutting their throats. That'll show them. But yeah, I mean, there's.
I don't think DC could have gotten away with it with Sandman.
Like what? At present, or
I don't actually know that. I think there may actually. I'm not positive on this, and I would have to actually look it up. But I think there may actually be some sort of contractual thing where he has to actually approve the use of the character.
He does. And I mean, he had to. He had to make the approval.
He probably learned watching Alan Moore get screwed over.
Yeah, well, he's been very smart about everything.
He's younger than Alan too.
He is, yeah. I mean, yeah, they have to go to him every time. Like when Death appeared in Action Comics to have a conversation with Lex Luthor.
Really, I don't think I read that. That sounds great.
A great issue.
Check that out.
And it was just before just before New 52, where Luthor had pretty much taken over the book and was going on this journey. And during the journey, he runs into Death. And it's a great issue.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
You can borrow my copy.
Yeah,
I bought it. I wasn't reading it, but I bought it specifically because Death shows up.
I'm gonna have to actually go out and find a copy of it so I have it.
It's a fantastic.
Who wrote it?
I cannot remember.
Because he's picky though. Because I mean, Morrison got to use him. Was it Morrison or Wade?
No, it wasn't. What? In,
got to use Sandman in Justice League.
It was Morrison.
It was Morrison.
Yeah. I forgot the name of the writer. He was the writer who was doing. I think it's the writer who was doing the New 52 Demon Knights book.
Okay.
That writer has also done episodes of Doctor Who. He's a terrific writer, and he was writing Action Comics for a brief period.
I mean, but no, I don't think DC could have gotten away with. Well, apparently legally they couldn't get away with it.
Oh yeah.
Because Gaiman probably watched Alan Moore get raked over the coals, and
yeah. Well, he came immediately.
I'd like to add
those.
something to my contract.
Yeah. Well, he came immediately after those guys.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's really the next generation of those writers.
Yeah.
And him and Alan Moore are actually somewhat friendly, or very friendly.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Well, from what I've read incidences where there's a story where Alan Moore talks about eating dinner with Neil Gaiman, and he's like graphically describing stuff from hell. The Jack the Ripper story that Alan Moore did.
Yeah.
And Gaiman is sitting there turning green, and he has to run outside and like puke apparently. And Alan Moore follows him out. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, the master of modern horror. My Alan Moore impression is a little bit off today.
Oh, that's great. But he is doing this miniseries, which is a prequel, right?
Yes. Now, my understanding,
J.H. Williams III, who is
doing the art.
Is doing the art. Yeah, he's the
What else
co-creator
has
of
he
Batwoman.
done?
Oh, he's the co-creator of
Of which Batwoman?
the current one.
I don't read it.
The Kathy Kane, the
redhead.
The redhead.
Okay.
The Kate Kane, the
Okay.
current one. And he's actually left art duties on Batwoman so he could do the art duties on the Sandman.
Why him?
He is. I don't know if you've seen his work. I think his style works really well for Sandman.
I don't really know the work, so it's. I've seen the cover, and I like the cover, but it is a little odd to me. I mean, and it's not like it's not the first. It's not. This isn't the first time it's happened. The cover for one of the. For the hardback special edition Arabian Nights thing is different. Is a different artist, but for the most part, you say Sandman, I think about Dave McKean as the cover artist.
Yes.
And it was a little strange to me that they didn't have Dave McKean do the art.
Now, is he going to be doing any kind of alternate cover on that?
I don't know. I mean, well, doesn't the concept of variant cover? I mean, Sandman predates variant covers, right?
Yeah, and actually, well, no. I mean, Sandman was still at the beginning.
I mean, this was Vertigo when Vertigo was Vertigo.
Yeah, not current Vertigo.
I mean, doesn't the concept of variant covers for a Sandman book seem strange to you?
It seems almost offensive to me.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little iffy on variant covers, but
I mean, in this day and age, in the current DC, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I don't see how they can't do it. I mean, it's money in the freaking bank.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is that it was some basically we've got the anniversary of Sandman. I forget which anniversary it is. Is it the 20th? Is it actually?
When did the book come out? 88? I think it was 88,
I think
87.
it's actually 20 years.
Okay. It may have been 20 years since the book.
20th anniversary. I'm searching right now.
Okay. I will keep talking. I believe the book came out in the late 80s, though. Like 89, 88.
Sandman. I believe that this is the 20th anniversary.
Okay. Maybe it's the 20th anniversary of...
Yes.
Okay. The 20th anniversary of the beginning of the ending.
The 20th anniversary... no, this is the 25th anniversary.
25th
The 25th anniversary of Sandman.
Okay.
It's been 25 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
That seems just... Yeah, I guess it has to. I mean, I remember buying the single issues in the store. I remember, eagerly...
Me too.
Eagerly going to the store to get my copy of Sandman for that month.
I picked up... I think the first 20 issues had already come out, and to give it a try, I actually picked up the miniseries, Death, the High Cost of Living.
Sure.
And that was my first taste, and I really liked it.
And you have to understand, Sandman is still a huge seller for DC.
It does,
in the trade
the
paperbacks.
hardcovers are still selling. The Endless
and they
Nights.
have a ridiculous number of different versions of it.
Yeah.
I've heard people be like, well, yeah, they're kind of whoring Sandman out. I mean, whatever. It's the greatest comic. It's one of the greatest comics ever written. And as far as a body of work, what else stands up to it?
Yeah, it's one of the runs they haven't really run into the ground.
It's pretty pure. I mean, and because of his contractual requirement that he approve anything that they do with the characters. And honestly, the Dreaming ran for a little bit afterwards.
There's been threads here and there.
There was a series. There was an ongoing series called The Dreaming.
Yeah.
And some of the other characters, but I think the main characters, they had to get his approval to do anything with.
Yeah, his direct creations, yes.
Now
some characters that he played around with, they've been a little more loose with.
Knowing that the Sandman trade paperbacks and the original series are still kind of a huge cash cow.
Yeah,
for DC. 25th anniversary is coming up. They're like, man, we want to do something. We could capitalize on this, and we'll sell a bunch more Sandman books. What can we? Hey Neil, do you have any other Do you have a lost Sandman story that we could publish? Because if we put this new book, if we could do a mini series or something,
yeah,
then we'd sell a whole fuck ton more of Sandman books. And Neil was like, well, the whole contractual agreement that we had as far as my royalty rate for these books, they were written at a time where it was very unfair to the creators, and things seem much fairer now to creators than they used to be. And, I might have another story that I could tell.
That guy has a ton of stories in that universe.
If somebody were willing to renegotiate my contract, that's what I heard happened. That he got,
I believe it.
He's publicly said that getting more favorable. And I love Neil Gaiman because he's such a polite man.
Isn't he?
He's just such a sweetheart. He's like, how do you phrase it? Something along the lines of discussions resulting in a more favorable publishing arrangement. Enabled, were a lot of what enabled this story to be told, and so the story, and that's fine. That's inside baseball. That's the dirty side of contracts and things like that. We're getting a new Sandman story.
I know,
and it's Sandman before he was in the original in the first issue he was captured by somebody who was basically supposed to be Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
The Magus. The initial lines where you get introduced to the character is that the Sandman Morpheus is returning from a great battle in another universe, and this is going to be the story of what happened there.
Oh, that's the first I've heard of that. That's exciting.
And it's Gaiman, Miller coming back to Dark Knight with Dark Knight Returns, and what was the second Dark Knight
Dark
series.
Knight Strikes Again.
Dark Knight Strikes Again. When Miller came back to that, I went, yeah, you maybe shouldn't. You shouldn't go back to that well. You know, if Alan Moore were to go back to Watchmen, I'd probably buy it because he's Alan Moore.
You bought the Before Watchmen books, for God's
I know.
sakes.
Don't say that too loud. He'll come to my house and kill me. I was tortured by it though.
I remember that.
They weren't very good.
You were pained.
But I was just like, I have to know what they're doing with the characters.
Which was your favorite out of that? Which one was
Minutemen.
decent?
Darwin Cook.
That was
Minutemen.
Darwin Cook.
Rorschach didn't feel like Rorschach for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Night Owl, even though I really didn't feel like it was a story that needed to be told. It was already told better. I really enjoyed Silk Spectre, again, Darwin Cook, although I felt like that could have been a story with any character.
Mm-hmm. I believe...
Generally speaking, and I don't even want to talk anymore. I don't want to waste any more space on Before Watchmen, but generally speaking, Before Watchmen wasn't very good.
Well, I will say, when I heard about it initially...
And I'm sorry I read them.
Okay. When I heard about them initially, I had mixed feelings, but I was going to pick up a couple. The ones that were interesting to me the most. The Darwin Cook one.
I think I have a few left that I didn't use for toilet paper.
That's okay. I'm not that interested. The Darwin Cook one, the one he did with Amanda Connor, I was interested in the Rorschach one. But about around that time they were coming out, I was kind of stepping away from DC. And when they came out, I picked one up. I looked at it for a minute, and then I just put it back on the shelf. And I didn't feel like getting it, and that was just it. I didn't even have any huge offense.
I'm a little bit ashamed,
but I
know that Alan Moore hates me.
Oh,
because I bought those books, and it upsets me a little bit. But what are you going to do?
I'm
a junkie.
I'm
a freaking junkie, man. I need my fix.
Well, I think that would be explained to him, like
it's not my fault. It's a sickness, Alan.
Yeah, that you created. But I was, I've heard Neil Gaiman talk about in the past that actually there was quite.
That he felt like he didn't want to go back.
Yeah,
like he was afraid to go back because he wouldn't do. But I can't imagine. Has he misstepped? Has Neil Gaiman done something that we don't love?
He has not had a Dark Knight Strikes Again. In his work.
I mean, and I hope this isn't it.
Oh, man.
But I can't imagine it would be. Because, I mean, he just wrote a novel that's fantastic. The lane at the end of the ocean or something like that.
Lindsay just bought it, and I haven't gotten it.
Oh, my God, it's so good.
But, he has quite a bit in the Sandman universe, kind of like holes that he has purposely left to fill in. Like he's never answered like what changed delight into delirium still, and the story of what changed death.
That's such a heartbreaking. He does actually a little bit. He hints at it.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, just the world.
Yeah, and also the change in Death's personality as well. The character was supposed to be. Well, the character actually was said to be a grimmer, more intimidating person, and then changed her outlook. I don't think.
No, I think she was always kind of. I think she was always kind of like that. She had to do it. I mean, she has this.
No. You get a good look at that version. Not version. I shouldn't say that. That portion of her life in Endless Nights in the Sandman story.
You never get to see.
Where she's.
We never get to see the original Despair, do we?
No, I don't think so. So, I mean, there's still some stuff left.
Well, that's funny. I mean, and honestly, you could pick up with Daniel.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. I mean, I would buy it.
Yeah, I'd love to see. I mean, I like Daniel. I thought the character was fascinating. I
mean, but at the same time, I mean, I wept at the end of Sandman.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's stuff about getting trapped by your nature and being unable to change beyond a certain point. And the tie-in, and I'm a huge Shakespeare guy. I mean, the tie-ins with Prospero. I mean, it's brilliant. It is a brilliant work of literature. It is not. It is a shining example of what comics can be and what all comics should aspire to.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried. I trust Neil Gaiman. I would be heartbroken if he goes back to the well and it sucks. But I don't think it's going. I trust him.
Do you think DC is going to try and suggest to him, because it probably can only do that, suggest that a little of the DC universe is visited upon in this story?
I mean, it's not like it's never been done.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that
it was done early on.
It was done early on.
Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, then he drifted.
And done well.
And done very well. And at the end, even Batman, Superman, and Manhunter go to his funeral.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm curious to see if that'll be.
I don't know. I'm not. I think that he's pretty. I think they know
not to mess with him.
I think they know not to mess with it.
Well, mess with him. They'd be happy to mess with it.
I think they'd actually be afraid to actually break it. And I don't know. Maybe they want to put. I can't. I don't even want to actually conject. I don't even actually want to utter ways that DC could ruin Sandman, because somebody might hear me and pass it on to them.
It's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea.
That would be horrible. So yes, but that's coming. And hey, last episode we had some good feedback about the discussion about the Marvel Illuminati and why there are no women on it, and then we talked about what women would we put on it. We actually got some feedback about that.
Yeah, I didn't even get a look at that.
There was Catherine Pride, the White Queen, Emma Frost, maybe what's her name? I'm blanking.
What'd she do?
The Invisible Woman, Sue Storm.
Oh yes,
maybe Sue Storm. Although she's
Reed Richards
so been characterized as the wife of Reed Richards through the. And yes, there is, and many people have done some interesting things with the character and made her stand apart from that. But generally speaking, the Marvel company line is that Sue Storm is Reed Richards' wife.
She at this point she's an experienced superhero,
a little bit more in Ultimate, in the Ultimate Universe, a little bit more of a major player in the Ultimate Universe. But in the vein of that, and in the vein of like giving our questioners, our listeners questions that they can answer, what property that somebody that a major creator has left would you like to see them return to? Who do you in the same vein as somebody Gaiman coming back to Sandman after 25 years, it has not 25 years since it ended, but
then there was the Endless Nights graphic novel that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, but that's a decade ago.
Oh wow! 10 years.
So this is our question for the month. What would you, our ever faithful, stalwart, Primal Paper Comics listeners, Primal Paper Comics podcast listeners, podcastees, what work would you like to see a major creator return to that hasn't been involved with it for quite some time? And just leave it. Send us an email at the.ends.comic@gmail.com, or go on our Facebook page and leave a comment to the effect. Or if this is on YouTube, because we're also posting this on YouTube, you can leave a comment in the YouTube comments. Although generally speaking, Primal Paper Comics podcast comments are the only comments on YouTube that I ever read. That's not true. I read the Geekvolution ones, and generally I'm not disappointed. But if I wander out of either one of those, then I'm suddenly fearful for the future of the human race. I don't know what it is about YouTube and comments. I wandered into Craigslist rants and raves section once, and it was just ready to jump out of a window.
Yeah, that was a mistake. You shouldn't have done that.
So let us know, and maybe we'll talk about. We will definitely talk about that in our next podcast.
Okay.
What else is going on?
The intro to the Beware the Batman
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Released from
It looked really
Cartoon
cool.
Network. It does look really
It's
cool.
got like a real 60s vibe to it.
It does. In particularly the logo design. I'm always a sucker for those old school Batman logos with sort of Batman surrounding the title. Maybe that's just from growing up.
No, very old school. I mean, yeah, very 60s. I mean, so it opens up with the Riddler.
The Riddler. Is that the Riddler at the beginning?
I'm pretty sure. He's got the little freaking hat, and he's got the bear. I'm pretty sure that's the Riddler.
Let's see.
Opens up with I'm pretty positive that's the Riddler.
Okay.
Because he's got the jacket, and unless it's supposed to be Alfred, but that doesn't make sense.
Oh no. Let's see. Alfred is in the in the intro.
So you're saying I thought it was the Riddler.
Well, Alfred has. Are you talking about? We see Batman jump, and then we see the guy in the bowler hat.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's Alfred.
You think that's Alfred?
Yeah. Well, Alfred is a lead character in this. It's basically a trio between Batman, Alfred, and Katana.
Really?
Yeah, which is an odd pairing, frankly.
I'm watching it again now.
Okay, we're gonna watch it.
I assumed it was the Riddler.
No,
Because he had the cane. There's bats coming down.
which looks spectacular. That right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Alfred.
I guess you're right. A little weird that he has Katana instead of a Robin, though, isn't it?
It is a little strange.
A
Or
little weird
Batgirl.
that, freaking Alfred is, much younger. And, I mean, I see it now because he's got a little bit of, an English bulldog bearing. But
Yeah.
he's Alfred's looks like he's about to beat somebody up here.
Yeah. Well, he initially had guns.
Oh, that's wrong.
Yeah. Oh,
Fuck, man. What is wrong with DC?
I don't know. Well, and actually, because they've done some re-editing, because since Sandy Hook, they've had to remove his guns. I have heard they're gone completely, and I've heard they've been replaced with laser guns.
You can't see it, but I'm actually physically facepalming.
Yes.
Enough. It looks good.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't suck. Although now I'm kind of I don't know if I want to watch it.
Well, I'm on the fence about it, because, the whole Alfred with guns thing was not jiving with me
It
at all.
does seem like a little bit younger kind of feeling Batman, and a little bit, not campy, but kind of, I don't know, almost like a Prisoner tone from the 60s.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe a more serious Batman 66. Because we just got off of Brave and the Bold, which is more like Dick Sprang, goofy fun.
Yeah.
And this one has, no, not the Prisoner, the Avengers.
You see, now I'm kind of...
Not the Marvel Avengers.
No. That's what I actually got of the
Steed and Mrs. Peel
from Alfred's,
Avengers.
Alfred's outfit.
Actually, Steed, Mrs. Peel, and Batman, essentially.
There's an interesting Batman story that to be written with the prisoner in mind, as far as Batman as a prisoner of the Batman.
Mm-hmm. There was a Legends of the Dark Knight story. I'm trying to remember.
Where he's a
convict.
He's a victim of his own compulsion.
Yeah, and he's in Arkham, and these are all delusions.
Interesting.
But not
that I'm ever going to get to write Batman after all the shitty things I've said about the DC.
Well, we'll just have to wait till the
regime changes. Yeah.
Then we'll go, hey, we were with you all the time. But I'm on the fence about it. There's some stuff
We said all sorts of shitty things about those guys, but they're gone now. So give us a job, please.
Let's see. As far as the intro, I like all the red. It's basically red and black.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting color palette because it's always been kind of black and gray.
Yeah, or something along those lines. Yeah.
This is much more, almost violent.
It is.
But the music kind of offsets the violence a little bit and just makes it kind of
more fun and mysterious.
More like a 60s thriller.
So we'll see. When does
this come out?
Very soon.
I don't have TV, so I mean, I have a TV, but I don't pay for cable.
It's coming soon. I'll let you know. But
I'll come over to your house and watch it.
You can come over to my house and watch it. It'll be on demand. So I can show it to you.
Well, that'll probably be on
Yeah.
It'll be on Netflix eventually.
Yeah, well, Cartoon Network has, on demand, so
It'll probably be on the Barbie.
yeah. But we'll see how it works. I still haven't seen the new Avengers cartoon, which I've heard a lot of mixed feelings about.
I don't think I've seen it either. I didn't even know there was one. I did actually really enjoy the Ultimate Spider-Man series.
Oh, yeah?
I've been watching that on Netflix, and I thought it was very well done. Cute. Pretty soon, nobody's going to ever remember that Nick Fury is white.
I know, isn't it weird?
It's a little weird. I mean, I'm like, I've got it. It's on my wall.
It's right here. People are going to look at that and go, who the fuck is
that
that guy?
I'm like, Nick Fury, that's not Nick Fury. That's a white guy. I'm like, sit down and let me sing you a sad tale of woe. Not that I care if he's black or not, but I mean.
But the
and honestly, we need more black heroes in Marvel Comics. It's great that they did this with Nick Fury.
well, this is the weird
It's
thing.
a little weird that they gave him a black son for no. And he also lost the eye. apparently we didn't know this about Nick Fury, but the missing of his his right eye or
something like that.
The missing an eye is actually a genetic trait.
Yeah, it wasn't an accident.
It's passed down from father to son.
Well, this is the thing about I've always been pro. If you're going to replace a character, consider doing it with either a female character or someone who's a different race. But what's weird about the Nick Fury thing is Nick Fury isn't like Batman or Captain America, where it's costume personality. Nick Fury was Nick Fury. He was a guy.
I know.
That's like
whatever.
That's like what if I come over your house?
It completely came down to.
What if I come over your house and I'm suddenly black?
The transformation. I would be.
Like,
I don't know. That'd be like so.
Would you roll with it?
I'd be like so. What you been up to, man? What you been into? What you?
Well, let's see. Well, I did some time traveling and came back, and I'm black, so
I mean, I don't care really. I mean, it'd be a little weird because you were a white dude and you're a black guy. I mean, okay. I mean, this isn't. I mean, to be cynical about it, and then to not be cynical about it. To be cynical about it. It's entirely Nick Fury being black now is entirely a function of Ultimate Comics, Ultimate Marvel,
because it worked.
Because it worked there, and people really like that. And one of the reasons that people really like that is because who was it? Was it Bendis?
No,
Millar?
that's Millar. That was Millar.
Millar based the character very obviously on Samuel L. Jackson. And Marvel was cool with that because it did an Avengers movie and it was based on Samuel L. Jackson. Maybe Samuel L. Jackson played a part. And people like to go see Samuel L. Jackson in movies. So Nick Fury is black now because people like to see Samuel L. Jackson in movies.
And also, let's not forget that this was also assisted by the fact that white Nick Fury wasn't the most popular character of all.
Well, it's also... Well,
I mean, yeah, he is important. He is important in the context of the Marvel universe.
A certain generation. To my father.
But this generation,
who was a child of the 40s.
Yes,
Nick Fury was the fucking man.
But this
Fury, Sergeant Fury, and the Howling Command. My father, every time he said Sergeant Fury, he remembers Sergeant Fury finally.
Yeah, but
those people aren't buying comics.
Yeah, this generation is different.
My dad hasn't bought a comic book in like 40 years.
Yeah, he is not as popular with this generation.
Well, he is now.
Yeah, well, he's now all of a sudden
because he's cool.
Because the Samuel Jackson persona does translate to the character. To be honest. As cool as he has been, and one of the best things about the Ultimate Universe has been Nick Fury. The new version of Nick Fury,
he's an Iraq war veteran instead of World War II.
But
wouldn't it be interesting?
He has yet to make an impression on me, frankly. He's just kind of been there.
Wouldn't it be interesting? I mean, I know that it becomes, and Marvel and DC both have this problem. DC just basically said that World War II didn't have any superheroes all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But they had this problem in that they had these characters that were originally written during World War II.
Yeah.
And you have a generation of people, several generations of people really, that don't know shit about World War II because it happened, 70 freaking years ago.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be interesting, and I know you can't really do this because then you reintroduce the problem of having World War II era characters, which at this point in Marvel, I think Namor and Cap are the only ones left, really.
Yeah, from Marvel, yeah.
I mean, and the fact that white Nick Fury is out there somewhere. but they're not talking about him too much because
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson. But wouldn't it be interesting if you could go back and make Nick Fury black from the beginning and write about a black Nick Fury's experiences during World War II? Wouldn't that be a different story?
That would be quite a
Wouldn't
different
there be some
character
really? I mean,
than
it
what
did some of that a little bit with the original what they termed the original Captain America. There was who is the grandfather of the character who's called Kid Patriot or Patriot?
U.S. Patriot or Super Patriot or something like that.
I think it's Patriot.
Yeah,
Kid
like
Patriot.
that.
I'm pretty sure it's Kid Patriot.
Yeah.
He was one of the Young Avengers.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed the Young Avengers greatly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting to go back and retell Nick Fury's, like let's just make him black from the get-go. Let's just retcon it.
Yeah.
We're going to have him be black. Let's not have all the confusing, but let's not jettison all of the World War II stuff. Let's not explain that there's a black Nick Fury now because Nick Fury had a black kid, which, could happen, I suppose, but I don't know why he lost his eye, and it's just kind of weird. And why is he in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because the last time I checked,
That's not a position you can pass.
NSA, CIA leadership positions aren't inheritable. It just doesn't make any sense. Let's retcon the whole thing. Let's go back in time. Let's do like a mini-series to retcon that, where we go through the different ages of Nick Fury, but we make him black.
And he's been alive all that
Because,
time.
you could tell a really interesting World War II story.
Yeah.
With that, you could tell a really interesting 1970s super spy story with that. Mm-hmm. You could Samuel L. Jackson that motherfucker right on up.
He seems tailor made for that. But I do love the idea of you could show this character putting it all on the line for America in World War II, and then coming back and being asked to go in through different doors and sitting in the back of buses in the 50s. And what kind of bullshit is this? What did I put my life on the line for?
Yeah, it'd be
for this to be treated like this.
Yeah, the thing with Captain America is that he didn't actually have to live through that, right?
No, actually, he slept through that.
Well, no. To be fair, there was racism. I mean, there was Jim Crow laws and segregation.
Yeah.
In 1940s America, and you never really get to see. And certainly, there were Jim Crow things going on in New York City at that point, which is where he's from.
Yeah.
And maybe he just didn't see it a lot because he was skinny and weak, and
he was also a kid. And he was also in
pretty young,
Brooklyn.
But I don't know that anything has ever really. I don't think, and I don't know that Marvel would touch this with a 10-foot pole. But wouldn't it be interesting if they did? I don't think anybody has ever dealt with the fact that Captain America was raised with a significant amount of racism.
Yeah, it was just kind of.
And what did that just go away? I mean, he went down with that plane into the ice in what, 43, 44?
Yeah, just like a year before the end of the war.
Just before the end of the war. He had to be prejudiced. There's no way. Because not everybody, but the vast majority of people in the country
had a shade of it. Had a
even
touch
the
of
most progressive people had some of it.
There was also...
and then all of a sudden he comes back, and originally it was in the 60s, and then it was the 70s, and now he came back in the 90s or the 2000s. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long Cap... I think there's a 10-year...
It's a 7 to 10 year...
Tony Stark now created
span.
weapons for the Iraqi war, right?
Yeah, if not soon.
Originally it was Vietnam.
Yeah. And
the only thing that has changed, but the thing that has been
wasn't
constant,
Reed Richards and Ben Grimm in the Korean War together?
Not anymore.
Well, originally.
I think they may. Guys have to.
And then that went to Vietnam, and
But Cap has always remained in World War II.
Yeah.
I understand that he got hit with the magic "I'm not a racist anymore" stick. And got wiped clean of all that, but there's no freaking. You look at the Joe Simon and Kirby Captain America, and he was, racist as fuck against Japanese people.
Yeah.
But that was the war propaganda machine going on and all that.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be interesting to see a story that deals with how he dealt with that.
I
Because now you've got him coming out of the ice in what would have to be within a 10-year ago period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you follow the movie, sooner than that. Mm-hmm. Not that long ago. Which is, and I just watched the Captain America, the what is it, the First Avenger.
First Avenger.
Just watched the First Avenger, and it occurs to me, this is the other problem I have with Captain America right now. Besides the fact...
The character or the movie?
The movies.
Okay.
I have a problem with Captain America in the movies. I have no problem with Captain America the character. Not really. Okay, so in the movie, Captain America, we're rambling all over the place.
I know. Maybe
I got this whole thing from one of our listeners. It was like, yeah, podcast is great, but you're a little rambly. Fuck it, we ramble. We're ramblers.
Yeah, that's what podcasts are for, isn't it? This isn't video, not a.
We tried to stay on topic, but it's more interesting to just go where we will. So, in the first Avenger, he gets his power. He goes, the scientist friend gets killed.
Yeah. Which is just like the books.
He's basically been through boot camp.
Yeah.
He then goes on a war bond tour. Mm-hmm. He then finds out that his friends have been captured. He goes on one mission. Mm-hmm. Maybe a second mission if you count his final going after the Red Skull.
Yeah.
This is a man who has been on 2 missions.
Yeah.
He comes out into Avengers, and people treat him like he is a incredible veteran of war.
No.
He's been on 2 missions.
No. You're missing something.
What am I missing?
There's a montage.
There's no montage.
There's a montage in the film where it shows them on several missions.
The amount of time...
No. There is a montage.
That take place in the space of what, 2 weeks?
There is a montage.
Maybe
that shows
3
them
weeks.
On missions.
Maybe, but not over... But the original Captain America fought throughout the entirety of World War II and was a combat veteran, not a guy who went on missions for a month.
No, it does not. The time span is not specifically mentioned, therefore it could be going on for a while. You do get the idea that these missions are frustrating Red Skull because
maybe 6 months. And he
You're
is treated.
Shit up.
And he is treated
just
like.
Just because you missed this.
I saw the montage.
Well, then that's it. The beauty. You're missing the beauty of a montage. Where
the original Cap fights through like 4 years of the war.
Yeah.
This Cap, by definition, given the amount of time that he spent on the war bond campaign, given the amount of time of where he comes into the story with the Red Skull.
Yeah.
There wasn't years of the war left at that point. I'll do the math and I'll have it for the next podcast. But I was a little bothered by it. I was like, where did he get the experience? Why is he considered to be this like super experienced soldier?
What about that scene where he's on leave and in the movie theater and there is actual wartime newsreel footage of him in action? You know how
when did he do that?
What?
Where did he do it?
I don't. Well, during this time period.
I'm going to sit down and plot the math out because I'm sure it can be plottable. I'm going to look it up online because I'm sure somebody already has.
Okay.
Later, another time.
All right, but you know what? Compare this to like the 1990 movie.
No. I'm not saying it was a bad. Great movie. Costume looked great. Really bothered that nobody, they spent all the money on Avengers and didn't notice that his costume looked like shit.
Yeah.
And he looked stupid, and he looked so much better in his own movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, all you have to do is give him the freaking jersey and then throw a combat jacket and a helmet on him, and he looks fine.
Yeah.
But if you try to make him look like he does in the comic books, I mean, unless you're going to put him in the damn chainmail, and even that looks a little freaky-deaky,
That might be something that artistically works on paper, but maybe not so much in...
Well, they did it with the World War II movie.
Yeah.
They put a helmet on him, and they gave him a leather jacket.
Well,
he looked cool.
No, I'm talking about...
He had some straps on him.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like he was badass, and then he looked like...
I will say...
But he looked funny.
All right. There was...
Not to be taken seriously in that costume in Avengers.
All right.
I was very bothered by it. I'm like, how do you spend that much money on a movie and don't notice that freaking Captain America looks like a prat?
I was going to say something, but I...
I ran you over. I'm sorry. I do that sometimes.
That's okay.
You lost it?
Yeah, I lost
It's gone. It'll come back to you.
Yeah. Hopefully when you're in the middle of something.
How about this? So you can interrupt me and fuck me up?
Why not? But, all right.
You're a Southerner, right?
What's that?
You were born in the South.
Yeah, I was born, Virginia Beach.
Yeah, see, this is the thing between Southerners and I'm a Northerner. And we don't finish. Southerners get very upset when you don't let them finish their sentences.
That's true, actually. I do get pissed off about it.
And Northerners, that's just the way we talk. So, I guess that's all we got on Cap, unless you remember what you were talking about.
Yeah, no, you pretty much...
I ran you over, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm a forceful personality.
All right, so what's next?
Steranko on Twitter.
Okay, this is pretty much... I don't have
Steranko on Twitter.
I don't have shit to say about this. So.
Let's talk about who is Jim Steranko. Come on, you can talk about this.
Well, I can talk about Jim Steranko, but I don't have any of his work.
Some of our listeners may not know who Jim Steranko is.
He is a man of mystery.
Apparently.
He is the most interesting man in the world. For real, not an actor for a commercial series. This guy could seriously be the most interesting man in the world. Tell us a little bit about him.
Jim Steranko was an artist. Yeah, or is. He's not dead. Or that would be really weird that he was posting on Twitter.
Yeah.
Probably kind of interesting.
You know, I still get tweets from Roger Ebert, which kind of...
Really?
Yeah. I don't know who runs his Twitter, but there's still occasional tweets from Roger Ebert's estate. I'm not sure if I like that or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, I've been contemplating like unfollowing.
It's a little creepy.
It is creepy.
I don't know though. I mean, it is kind of him living on, isn't it? Except it's not him.
Well, that's why I haven't unfollowed it yet, but I'm still on the fence about it.
Jim Steranko was born in 1938. He's an artist who originally started out in commercial art, doing like printing and commercial ads and things like that. But he ended up writing for Marvel, among other companies. In 1966, did the art for Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was a seminal title in the late 60s, early 70s. The transition Nick Fury from Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos to more of the kind of James Bond character that he is now. It established S.H.I.E.L.D., which is very important now. There's going to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. Mm-hmm. He is incredibly well remembered for introducing a level of surrealism into comic book art. You know, the classic Steranko covers drip with the 60s surrealistic approach to, you know, slightly just not real thing going on. It's almost hallucinatory, psychedelic vibe. You know, the cover that people think about is the Nick Fury Scorpio cover.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more famous ones.
So somebody got Jim Steranko on Twitter. And if you're not following Jim Steranko, you are freaking missing it, man. Because this cat is crazy. I mean...
But it's a good kind of crazy.
It is a good... I mean, he's an old... I mean, born in 1938, so that makes him what? That makes him 70... Mid-70s, 75?
Something like that.
75.
Yeah.
34, 75.
Yeah.
And you're finding out, and who the hell knows if any of this has actually happened? I mean, I don't know. You know, sometimes those old guys like to tell, maybe like to tell some tales out of school,
He's 75.
Make things up. You had to break out a calculator to do that. I'm telling everybody that's listening that Justin had to get a calculator out to do that math.
Because I am a C- math student at best on my best day.
That's funny. Okay, so Steranko's been on Twitter for like a week. Has anybody actually... I wonder if anybody's actually checked to see if this really is Jim Steranko, because this guy apparently doesn't do anything but tweet.
Well, it doesn't take that long.
I mean, I know he's not really doing a book. What? If you could get Jim Steranko in a modern-day Marvel book, what would it be?
Shit. Oh, what book could he do?
I mean, that's assuming he can still draw. I mean, like Dick.
Well, yeah. Of course,
can't really draw
assuming
anymore.
you can draw. I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be too repetitive to put him back on Nick Fury.
Well, there's no Nick Fury book one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the present day Nick Fury, the Samuel Jackson Nick Fury. That he might find that interesting because it's not exactly the same character. But he might even be bored by that. Maybe Doctor Strange. I mean, Doctor Strange's always been a character that's just kind of been just hanging out doing nothing.
Yeah, him and Bendis on Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Or
that could be cool.
How about Neil Gaiman and Steranko on Doctor Strange?
I'm gonna write Marvel a letter.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what's this shit about?
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I mean, if you haven't read his Twitter account, I mean, some of the highlights, his father was, he's basically telling stories about his life on Twitter. And I guess he's 75 and he doesn't really have to work and he's just sitting around and maybe his grandson was like,
hey, you gotta get on Twitter, man.
Hey, Pops, check this Twitter thing out. And he was like, what? Let me check it out. Hey, this is pretty neat.
Yeah. He, you know what? If he did a DC book right now, I could definitely see him doing Batwoman. Actually,
that'd be interesting.
Because J.H. Williams, who was doing the Batwoman, I think there's kind of an influence, Steranko influence on his work. But I could definitely see him returning the favor,
right?
By doing Batwoman.
So some of the highlights: his father was working in the coal mines as a child. He was in a gang. He built a motorcycle that shot flames out of the exhaust, like fireballs. Apparently he, vented gas through the exhaust and, rode around, leaving trails of fire. Something about being held by the police for 24 hours. Just all sorts of interesting things. Talks about Houdini some. Apparently him and Hugo Strange. I don't know who Hugo Strange is. Let me see here.
Hugo Strange? That's Batman Michael
Cronenberg.
Oh,
that's Michael Cronenberg.
Michael Cronenberg?
He is a...
Is that the son of...
graphic designer and artist.
Is he related to David Cronenberg?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I know he has a son that's doing something.
Author and designer of the Batcave Companion. I guess he's just some guy that knows...
Oh, it could just be a coincidence.
And just knows Jim Steranko. Yeah, no, so, I mean, let's think about that. I mean, is Steranko retired, or why? A lot of these old guys just don't get any work anymore. What is it?
And there's, sometimes...
Herb Trimpe, who's, hey, we're going to be at, that reminds me, we're going to be at,
I was saving that for...
Oh, you're saving, okay, I'll let you do that.
Yeah, after we're done talking about this. But, I mean, we occasionally see some of the old guard come out. I mean, Gene Colan in his last few years, once he had, I think, corrective eye surgery, he was able to get back into drawing a little bit.
Has he done a book?
Actually, hasn't he passed away recently?
Yeah, I think he may have.
But during the last few years of his life, he actually kind of got back into comics a little bit. I know he did Daredevil for a little while, with Joe Kelly. Actually, he did a short run.
Yeah, he passed away 2 years ago.
Yeah, he did a short run of Daredevil back in the late 90s, which was pretty exciting. And, he did things here and there. John Romita Jr. occasionally shows up to, do a cover or, a pinup or, something like that. Joe Kubert worked pretty much literally until his death.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing pages for, unfortunately, his last book was Night Owl. From before Watchmen, and that's too bad, but...
Yeah. But a lot of these old guys, you don't get to see as much. I mean, I would love to... I think Steranko, I think his work is beautiful, and it's unlike a lot of the mainstream stuff I see. I mean, the closest thing I can compare to what I see is Williams on Batwoman.
I mean, my favorite Steranko cover, he used to do covers for X-Men.
Yeah.
And X-Men 50 is hands down my favorite Steranko cover. And I showed it to a friend of mine, and it was interesting because he had to like sit and think about whether or not he liked it. He had to think about whether or not it was good, because that visual language is so dated to the 60s that it's difficult to tell. Like anything that was done like that from the 60s is kind of cool to look at, but how do you tell if it's good or not, given the context of the time?
That's what I find exciting about art is when it goes beyond what's considered sellable. Like, oh, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, whatever. But something that takes a second to register, to challenge you maybe, I don't even know if I like this. What is going on in this piece? I find that exciting. I still see that from time to time in comics, in modern comics. Maybe not as much as I'd like. But I mean, I think that's a good example of what he can do as a creator.
It'd be interesting to see him. I don't even know if he's actually drawing anymore.
I'm
actually in the process of. I've actually gotten the Silver Age collecting bug again, and so I'm in the process of buying Silver Age books, 12-cent covers. But that's a book that I want in decent condition. Is the X-Men 50, the Polaris cover.
Yeah,
it's all green and just gorgeous cover. We have passed the 2-hour mark. I think we should probably get to the point where we wrap it up, because I think asking people to listen for more than 2 hours is a bit much.
It's yes.
Like 2 hours is a good, like, you're working, you're at work, or
watch this in parts.
Doing dishes or something. You're in a maximum security state penitentiary, and you've got 2 hours to kill. And so you let our podcast run on in the background, and that's generally how I expect people to listen to this.
Yeah, I hope you didn't miss that important lecture as you were listening to this.
About how the Superman movie sucked? I'm pretty sure they got that.
Yeah. Lecture. But I don't give a shit.
You're like, what? I didn't make it? Fuck you.
What was that jabbing me for? I don't give a fuck. We just want to talk a little bit more about, kind of before we sign off, what's going on.
Sunday!
Yeah, where can...
It is Sunday, right?
It is Sunday, yes. Yeah. Sunday, July 14th, we'll be at the Virginia Comic Con, and it's in Richmond. It's
a new location now. It's at the Holiday Inn Conference Center.
Yeah. And
go to vacomiccon.com to get directions to the hotel. It is no longer a free event. From what I understand, there was some trouble with the Magnuson Hotel. The Magnuson Hotel originally was the Crown West, Crown Point West, or something like that, and became the Magnuson. And apparently, they voided the contract with VA Comic Con, and basically, VA Comic Con had to charge like a whole $5 to get into the Comic Con. And I've actually seen people like react
$5,
like
that's
badly
it.
to that. Like this one guy was like, "Oh, I can't afford to go now." And I'm like, if you can't afford $5 for a ticket to get into the door for a comic convention, then you really need to take a step back and
what are we gonna do?
What has gone wrong with your life?
What are we gonna do at the convention? Like, if $5 is
like, we don't give us anything, and I don't have money to pay on comics. I'm like, well, I don't want your fucking cheap ass to come to the Comic Con anyway.
Yeah, you realize comics aren't 5 cents anymore, Grandpa.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. But anyway.
By the way, that's every conversation I've ever had with an old guy. Well, they were 5 cents. Yeah, oh, wow, there's been inflation since 1950.
Were they a nickel? Was there a point where they were a nickel?
I'm sure everything was a nickel.
I guess there was a point when they were a penny. I guess some of the Shadow comics in the 30s may have been.
I suppose.
Anyway,
so. Yeah.
VA Comic Con, July 14th. Come see us from 10:30 a.m. to...
What's it?
10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Yes.
At the Holiday Inn. Look it up on the website. Justin and I will both be there. Justin's going to have lots of Red Knights. I'm going to have lots of the ends. If you haven't read my book yet, What's Stopping You? It's cheap as hell in digital format, and you can get it right now at primalpapercomics.com.
Same thing with Red Knight. Except
Red Knight. You should be reading,
my Red Knight.
You should read our books because they're groovy, man.
Yeah, I know. We try. We try really hard.
Or not, I guess. I mean, do what you want.
Yeah.
I'd like it if you read the book because, that's why we're doing this whole thing. We're doing this on a monthly schedule, and we're going to talk to Bob and try to get him on the horn, next time to talk about 41 and drop some 41 knowledge on us. And if you have topics or questions or things you'd like us to discuss on a future show, bring it on up in the comments wherever you're hearing this or whatnot, and we'll see what we can do about it.
Yeah, we'll be definitely in future installments try to get as many Primal Paper creators on the show to talk about their works, comics in general, and just chatting about the creation process too, which is always fun. Well, for me anyway.
Well, it was good to see you, Justin.
It was good to see you, Jeff.
Tune in same bat time, same bat channel next month.
Yep.
Peace.
Out.